Morning campers, coffee time. So, I was thinking today about all the shit that's going on in the world, right? Mass immigration, forced immigration, murders in the street. A man got shot in his living room by two people in Rotherham, I think it was. It might be Sheffield, can't remember the town, but you know, horrible, horrible things going on worldwide. A woman with a baby in a pram being pushed off a train by illegal immigrants in Germany. You've got the whole Israel question, which gets everybody in a kerfuffle, rightly so. The threat of world war, the tariff wars, the EU, it's just horrific. Not only that, this follows 5 years since the biggest psychological operation on humans in known history. Known history is a good way of putting it, actually, because most of our history is not known. We have amnesia as a species. There's lots of talk about great resets. Klaus Schwab, the great reset. You know, this, humans interfacing with AI, becoming robots for all intents and purposes. That's what the Georgia Guidestones laid out, to keep humanity under 500 million in perpetuity with nature. That was their plausible deniability, the satanic 10 commandments. If you've not heard of that, go and look it up. I do mention it a few times. Look up the Georgia Guidestones. It was blown up a few years ago, which was a great sign for us. But the point of this chat is really about consequences. If you think of this place, as a lot of us do, as a school, as a soul school, then following that line, we chose to come here. And some of us are aware of this. Some of us are aware of the fact that we've been on Earth multiple times and had past lives. If you look at Dolores Cannon's work about the waves of souls that came in at this time to assist in the awakening of humanity, then the awakening is the opposite of the Great Reset. The same as awake is opposite of woke. You know, you've got these... You've got this choice or this choice. It's like Alice in Wonderland. You know, you're going to drink this one. Oh no, not Alice in Wonderland. The Matrix, the red pill or the blue pill. You know, it's that constant choice that we're faced with. And if you take the assumption that that's true, then everything that we're seeing on on a global scale, on a local scale, and in your own life is there for you. And if there weren't consequences, you wouldn't learn anything. Now, while I was thinking about this in the shower this morning, in my beautiful clean water, everybody should have a whole house shower filter, not shower filter, water filter, for God's sake. At least do that, because the water's full of poison. But anyway, that's a side point. While I was in the shower, I was thinking about my time in the military. During the 1980s, I was obsessed with being in the RAF, and I got into the RAF, and a couple of things came to mind. There was one time when I was on a training exercise in the Cairngorms, which is this big mountain range in Scotland, and the weather was so bad that we had to camp at 3 p.m. in the afternoon because it was so dark and the wind was like 100 miles per hour. We had to, if you wanted to have a shit, you had to go up 100 yards and then do it, so because it literally flew out of your ass as soon as it came out. And we went to sleep at about 3 p.m. We woke up in ice water like this deep in a survival bag. It was an interesting experience. But getting up, I don't know, 5, 6 a.m. we then had this exercise to complete, which was, there's a nuclear weapon over there, and we had to go and find these, I can't remember what they're called, Jimmy cans or whatever they were, and then take them carefully down the mountain back to base. And some of the senior officers came up to find us to see how we were getting on. This was like a couple of days in the mountains, and they put me in charge of leading everybody down the mountain. Literally, you could not see 10 feet in front of you. So I was there with a map, navigating badly, and they kind of steered me in another direction. Now, when you're 18 years old, that kind of thing, you don't see the danger, but in actual fact, by them steering me in a different direction, I realized there were no consequences. So did I learn my lesson about navigating? Probably not, because about the same time, I was learning to fly at Denham Aerodrome in North London. Might be at the same time. Yeah, I think I was 17 anyway when I did the flying in Denham. And there was a time when it was a Friday afternoon, and the sun, it was beautiful day, but it was about midday, and I said to my instructor, well, but the next thing in my syllabus is an out of sector solo recce, which is like, I'd already gone solo. I'd been on this course for about 2 weeks, and I had to fly to, I think it was Chessington Chimney Works, just come out the circuit, fly there, turn around, fly back, land. That was it. And he was like, no, you can't do that today because I want to go to the pub. That was back in the 80s, that's when everybody drank. Anyway, I talked him into it, he let me get in, I just jumped in the plane, took off, got to Chessington Cement Works, and then did all my checks in the cockpit. Anybody that's ever flown a plane knows there's checks. And I did my turn, but I was 45 degrees off. And about 10 minutes into this, I didn't recognize any. I was looking at the map going, shit, I don't recognize anything. Fuck, I'm lost. Oh, I'm lost. And I was I had a moment of being terrified. I think I actually said, Mummy, to myself. Never admitted that before. But it was like, oh shit, I can't do that. I'm in a plane on my own above London. What am I going to do? Well, I'm not going to answer that phone for a start. Do you want to just answer that? Stop that phone ring. No, don't stop the recording. You don't stop the recording. Turn the bloody phone off. You see, you can't get the camera people. Professionals are hard to find. Come on, Lindsay. There you go. Sorry about that brief interlude. That sounded like one of those Wurlitzer things. Oh, it's Maggie. Jesus. That sounded like one of those Wurlitzer things in the cinema back in the day. Anyway, so I'm flying along, and I'm lost. Totally lost. And in the distance, I could see these Hercules doing circuits. They're the C-130s, American transport plane that the RAF had. I don't know if they still have them. And they were doing these huge circuits, and I was like, I knew that was Swindon, and I was like, shit, where am I? So I tried to blag my way out of it. And when you're training to fly, you learn to do this thing called pan, which is one step down from mayday, mayday, mayday. And I was like, I'm going to do a practice pan. I'm going to pretend I'm with an instructor, and I'm going to do this practice pan exercise, because I knew that would connect me to an airfield, and the airfield would help me. So I was like, practice pan, Golf Lima Papa, simulated lost, squawking at whatever I was squawking at. And then Luton Airport came on when, Golf Lima Papa, what's your situation? And I explained the situation. I lied. And he said, turn on to a heading of da-da-da-da-da. So I turned on to this heading, and I was like this. Whew. Got away with it. But I hadn't got away with it, because I didn't know that part of their procedure was to then ring the airfield that I was from just to check. And they said, no, he's on his own. So he came back on and he said, Lima Papa, are you on your own or with an instructor? And I was like, oh shit, I've been rumbled. I said, I'm on my own. Sir. and then he said, how are your fuel tanks? And I looked down at the fuel tanks, and they were like this, verging on the empty. I've been flying for a bit longer than I thought. In a state of panic, time doesn't really mean anything. And then they turned me onto another heading, and apparently I delayed a number of passenger jets because we crossed through the Heathrow approach path, and they all got told to circle while this little plane trundled across. And when I called into the airfield, apparently the whole airfield was in the air traffic control waiting for me to land, pissing their pants. And anyway, I got down, and I was filling up the fuel tanks in the wings, and the instructor came up to me and he said, I want to give you an A, but I'm going to have to give you an F. The point of this story is that I learned the most powerful lesson because there were consequences. Because if there aren't consequences, you're never going to learn. And that's what's going on right now. Everything that's happening in the world has to have real consequences. We, as a species, were sleepwalking. We were in an energetic and literal prison that we're breaking out of. And that's my view as an apocalyptimist. I know in my heart, we didn't come here to lose. We didn't come here to watch the human race capitulate and go into the New World Order. We're not going into the New World Order. We're going into a new world. But it's not going to be the evil New World Order. And if I'm wrong, then we're all dead anyway. But because you're an eternal spirit, who gives a shit? So, yes, the consequences of what's going on are real. People are really dying. People have really died. You know, probably 1 billion people or more will die of the vaccine. There are solutions to that, but what I've learned through running a healing centre is, and through talking like this, is you can't heal everybody because it's an inside job. Somebody told that to me about 15 years ago. So why do you keep talking about satanic ritual abuse? It's an inside job. You don't need to keep going on about this negative stuff. And I've always maintained that my job is to make people aware of the enemy, aware of the problem. And the problem is 22,000 children every single day have been going missing worldwide since the Second World War. And if you do simple maths, that's 1 billion children. That's how bad it got. You know, I did a video the other day about, I think it was called KidFlix, this horrific website of child porn and snuff movies, and it's just evil. 1.8 million subscribers. I said this the other day in a video. Just sit and think about those numbers. 1.8 million people pay to see that stuff. And they're just the minions. What do you think the people at the top have been doing? What do you think they've been doing? How do you get rid of that many children every single? That's 1,000 children an hour worldwide. The only way it happens is when you have a population that's in fear, that is corrupt, and turns a blind eye. It's time to not turn a blind eye. It's time to step out of fear, realize you're an eternal spirit. The consequences of you not facing the truth, not standing up, not speaking out, are far, far, far worse for your soul. And that's where we're at. God bless you. Have a lovely day.